The ship slows in gray water under a sky that looks permanently wounded. It is June 1944, and Private First Class Paul Fussell, U.S. Army Infantry, stands packed shoulder to shoulder on the deck as the English coast comes into view. This is Britain, America's ally, but nothing like the country he imagined. There is no color here, only soot, fog, and stone. Bomb-scarred docks rise from the mist like broken teeth. The war has already lived here for years. As the transport edges into Liverpool, Fussell smells coal smoke and salt, damp wool, and diesel. British civilians watch in silence. Their clothes hang loose from rationing. Their faces are older than their years. This island has been under siege since 1940, and it shows. Buildings still carry open wounds from the Blitz, windows boarded, walls cracked, streets narrowed by rubble that no one has time to clear. For American soldiers raised on abundance, Britain feels exhausted, disciplined by survival. Fussell disembarks with his rifle slung tight, boots clapping on wet stone. British military police guide the Americans with calm efficiency. No shouting, no ceremony, just motion. The war is too close for pageantry. Trucks haul the men inland, through countryside that looks deceptively peaceful, green hedgerows, narrow lanes, ancient villages older than the United States itself. Yet every bridge is guarded, every field hides slit trenches. War has been carefully folded into the landscape. At a temporary camp, Fussell meets British troops who have survived Dunkirk, the Blitz, North Africa. Their humor is dry, edged with fatigue. They speak of air raids as weather, of death as routine. At night, Fussell hears German bombers droning far off over the channel, hunted by searchlights. Britain is still under threat. This is not a rear area. It is a front that simply hasn't exploded today. Training begins immediately. Live fire exercises, forced marches, briefings delivered without optimism. The officers do not say where they are going, but everyone knows. Across the channel, occupied, France waits. Maps are studied, then taken away. The secrecy is absolute. Fussell writes letters home. He cannot explain, sensing history tightening around him. Food is scarce. Tea replaces coffee. Meat is measured, bread dark and dense. British civilians offer smiles, cigarettes, quiet gratitude. They have waited years for these Americans, and now that they are here, the weight of expectation presses heavily. Fussell feels it every time a child waves, every time an old man nods once, solemnly. One evening, air raid sirens rise suddenly. The camp goes dark. Soldiers hit the ground as anti-aircraft guns open somewhere beyond the hills. The sky flashes white, then red. The war announces itself again, reminding them that Britain is not a staging area, it is a scarred battlefield holding its breath. Fussell grips his helmet, listening, knowing that whatever comes next will not be training. The channel lies ahead, invisible, but near. The channel lies ahead, invisible, but near, and across it waits a fight that will decide everything. In the days that follow, Private First Class Paul Fussell feels time compress. Britain becomes smaller, tired, more secretive. Barbed wire fences rise overnight. Roads are closed without explanation. Entire villages vanish behind military checkpoints. Soldiers are told nothing, but the silence itself speaks. This is the calm before a violent crossing. Fussell's unit is moved south under cover of darkness. Canvas-covered trucks grind through blacked-out roads. Headlights reduced to thin slits of light. No one smokes. No one talks. Military police stand at every junction, redirecting traffic like veins feeding a heart. Southern England is now a launch platform. Everything points toward the sea. They arrive near the coast of Dorset, not far from where British forces once trained for evacuation, not invasion. Here, the land is scarred by constant rehearsal. Amphibious landing drills pound the beaches day and night. British instructors, veterans of Dieppe disaster, correct American mistakes sharply. They do not raise their voices. They don't need to. Their authority comes from experience written on their faces. Fussell learns how to load a landing craft under fire, how to step off without hesitating, how to move inland even as men fall beside him. The sand here is similar to Normandy's. The water is just as cold. During one exercise, a man drowns when his pack drags him under. The body is recovered quietly. Training resumes within the hour. Britain has learned that grief cannot interrupt preparation. The nights are restless. German reconnaissance planes buzz the coast, probing for signs. British radar stations hum constantly. Anti-aircraft guns remain manned even during meals. Fussell realizes something unsettling. Britain is not merely waiting for America to save it. Britain is holding the line, has been holding it for 4 years, absorbing punishment so this moment can exist. Civilians are gone now. Entire coastal zones are evacuated. Empty houses stand with doors ajar, meals abandoned mid-preparation. The war has displaced everything human from the shoreline. Fussell walks past a child's bicycle rusting against a fence and understands the cost. Britain has already paid. Briefings finally begin, fragmented, controlled. Maps appear only briefly, then disappear. A stretch of French coastline is discussed without being named. Beach gradients, German strongpoints, tides measured to the minute. Fussell memorizes without asking questions. The officers speak in clipped tones, as if emotion might contaminate the facts. One afternoon, British bombers were overhead in endless waves, heading east. The ground shakes. This is not training. This is preparation at full scale. The invasion is no longer theoretical. Fussell feels it in his chest as much as his mind. Then comes the order. Full kit inspection. Weapons cleaned again and again. Letters collected. Read. The moment Britain has survived for is finally here, and it is already pulling them forward. Before dawn on June 5, 1944, Private First Class Paul Fussell files down to the embarkation point with the rest of his platoon. The shoreline is barely visible, swallowed by mist and darkness. Landing craft bump against one another, steel scraping steel. Engines idle, low, impatient. British naval crews move with practiced calm, guiding Americans aboard with hand signals and murmured commands. There is no dramatic farewell. Britain does not wave goodbye. It releases them silently. Fussell climbs down the netting into the landing craft, boots slipping on wet rope. The smell inside is sharp fuel, oil, vomit, fear. Men sit shoulder to shoulder, rifles upright between their knees. Packs heavy enough to drown them if they fall. No one jokes now. The training beaches are behind them. This crossing is real. As the craft pulls away, England recedes into shadow. The white cliffs are not visible tonight. There is nothing romantic about this departure, only cold wind and the sound of water slapping against metal. The channel is rougher than expected. Waves crash over the bow, soaking uniforms within minutes. Fussell tightens his grip on his rifle, knuckles white, trying not to think about how far the water goes down. Hours pass in darkness. Some men pray, some stare straight ahead, others retch helplessly. The channel crossing feels endless, suspended between two worlds. Britain behind them, scarred but familiar. France ahead, occupied, hostile, unknown. Fussell understands now why the British looked the way they did when the Americans arrived. This war consumes youth quickly. As dawn approaches, the sea fills with shapes. Hundreds, then thousands of ships appear through the mist. Battleships, destroyers, transports, the largest armada ever assembled stretches beyond sight. Naval gunfire begins to rumble in the distance, low at first, then constant. The sound is not thunder, it is heavier, deliberate. Each shell is aimed at a coastline already bristling with German defenses. The landing craft slows. Officers shout over the engines. Men, check weapons one last time. Fussell's mouth is dry. He tastes salt and oil. Ahead, faint flashes mark the French shore. This is Normandy. Specifically, the stretch designated Omaha Beach, though the name means nothing to him yet. Suddenly, the sky cracks open. German artillery answers the naval barrage. Water columns erupt nearby. One landing craft disappears in spray and smoke. The men watch in stunned silence as debris rains down. There is no cheering, only the realization that some will never reach land. British naval gunners fire relentlessly over their heads, the shockwaves punching the air. The coordination is precise, born of years under fire. Britain's war experience is guiding this moment, even now. The ramp drops briefly for a test, then slams shut. Not yet. not here. The coxswain adjusts course. The shoreline grows clearer wire. The landing craft turns toward Omaha Beach as smoke thickens ahead. The engine roars, then slows. Water depth drops suddenly. The coxswain shouts the final warning. Private first class, Paul. Fussell braces as the ramp slams down and the world explodes. Machine gun fire tears across the opening instantly. Bullets spark off metal, rip through bodies, punch into water. Men at the front collapse before they take a single step. The surf turns dark. Fussell lunges forward with the rest, boots plunging into icy water up to his chest. His pack yanks him downward. For a terrifying second, he nearly loses balance. Training saves him. He keeps moving. German fire is precise, intersecting. The beach is not a flat landing zone, it is a killing ground. Concrete bunkers dominate the bluffs above, firing down at perfect angles. Mortars walk explosions across the sand. The naval bombardment has failed to silence these positions. The defenses Britain warned about are still alive. Fussell struggles through the surf, rounds snapping past his ears. Men scream for medics who cannot reach them. Some drown under the weight of their gear. Others freeze, pinned by fire, unable to move forward or back. The sea offers no cover. The beach offers none either. He reaches the shingle and throws himself down behind a low rise of stones. Breath gone, hands shaking. The sound is overwhelming, machine guns hammering, shells bursting, bullets striking rock inches away. Officers are down. Encos try to rally men, shouting orders that vanish in the noise. Smoke drifts unevenly, revealing glimpses of the slope ahead. Barbed wire mines, open ground. The exit draws are death traps. Fussell understands quickly. Staying here means dying slowly. Moving forward means risking everything at once. British and American naval guns continue firing inland, but coordination has broken down. The tide rises, pushing bodies and wreckage closer together. The wounded crawl toward the waterline, seeking relief from fire, only to be overtaken by waves. Fussell crawls sideways along the shingle, linking up with fragments of other units. No one knows who is in charge. Ranks mean nothing here. Survival dictates movement. A Bangalore torpedo team inches forward, dragging explosives under fire. One man is hit. Another takes his place without comment. An explosion rips open a gap in the wire. It is small. It is enough. Fussell scrambles up, legs burning, lungs screaming. He runs bent low, slipping on wet sand, rounds cracking overhead. The slope is steeper than it looked from below. Dirt and chalk spray as bullets strike. At the base of the bluff, he presses against the earth, heart pounding so hard it hurts. The beach behind him is still chaos. Ahead lies the German defensive line, intact, but vulnerable from the rear. The invasion is hanging by threads measured in minutes. Fussell grips his rifle, knowing the next move will decide whether Omaha holds or fails. Fussell grips his rifle, knowing the next move will decide whether Omaha holds or fails. Pinned against the base of the bluff, Paul Fussell forces his breathing to slow. Dirt showers his helmet as German rounds snap overhead. Above him, unseen, the enemy holds the high ground trenches, firing slits, interlocking fields of fire designed to break any assault from below. But this battle is already bending into something else. The beach has turned into chaos. Here on the slope, small groups begin to move independently, without orders, without maps, driven by instinct and necessity. Fussell climbs, not upright, never upright, but angled, grabbing roots, chalk, tufts of grass. Every few steps, he freezes, listening for movement above. Grenades explode somewhere to his left. A machine gun stutters, then stops. Someone has reached a position. Near the crest, a shallow trench comes into view. A German soldier appears suddenly, eyes wide, as surprised as Fussell. There is no dramatic exchange. Fussell fires once. The man drops. It happens too fast for thought. Training replaces reflection. Fussell moves on. Over the top, the world changes. The noise dulls slightly, no longer amplified by open sand. Behind the defenses, the German positions are vulnerable trenches running laterally, ammunition stacked neatly, weapons aimed the wrong way. The Atlantic Wall is strong from the front, brittle from behind. Fussell joins a handful of Americans, men from different units. Ranks blurred by exhaustion. They clear trenches one by one, methodically, without shouting. Grenades first, then rifles. The fight is close, brutal, personal. The Germans here are not monsters. They are young, tired, surprised by how suddenly the battle has arrived among them. Below, the beach begins to change. Fire from above slackens. More Americans move forward. Naval gunfire shifts inland, pounding targets deeper in Normandy. What was nearly a failure minutes ago becomes a narrow foothold. By midday, Omaha Beach is no longer a death trap, but it is not secure. Casualties litter the sand. Equipment burns. Medics work without pause. Fussell looks back once, briefly, and understands why the British spoke so quietly about invasion. There is no victory here, only survival bought at enormous cost. Orders finally filter through the fragments. Push inland. Take the road. Hold against counterattack. The fight is far from over. Germany will respond. Fussell reloads, checks his ammunition. His hands no longer shake. Shock has hardened into focus. As they move away from the beach, hedgerows rise ahead, dense, ancient, concealing everything. Normandy does not open itself easily. The land Britain helped them reach is about to fight back in ways the beach never could. Fussell steps forward into the green maze, unaware of how close the enemy already is, and how different this war is about to become. Fussell steps forward into the green maze, unaware of how close the enemy already is, and how different this war is about to become. The hedgerows close in immediately. Tall earthen banks, centuries old, rise chest high and higher, topped with thick roots and tangled vegetation. Visibility drops to a few yards. Sound carries strangely, footsteps muffled, gunfire echoing without direction. For Paul Fussell, this is no longer an invasion. It is a hunt in confined space, where every corner can kill. German resistance has not collapsed. It has withdrawn into the terrain. Snipers fire once, then vanish. Machine guns open from hidden angles, then fall silent before artillery can answer. The enemy knows this ground intimately. American maps are useless here. Units fragment again, swallowed by green walls. Fussell moves cautiously with his small group, advancing field by field. They learn quickly. Never crest a hedgerow upright. German troops wait on the far side, rifles trained on silhouettes. One man forgets. He rises too fast. A single shot drops him backward without a sound. No one looks away. They drag him down and move on. British warnings echo now, unspoken but understood. This is why Normandy will be slow. This is why victory will be measured in yards, not miles. By afternoon, German artillery begins probing. Shells burst blindly into fields, showering dirt and leaves. Fussell presses flat against the earth, heart pounding, listening for the whistle that means death is closer. Orders are shouted, then relayed hand to hand. Radios fail under hedgerow cover. Control dissolves into individual decisions. They reach a sunken lane, narrow, muddy, flanked by walls of earth. It looks like shelter. It is a trap. A machine gun opens from the bend ahead, firing down the length of the road. Bullets ricochet violently. The group scatters, diving into ditches, firing blindly into foliage they cannot see through. Grenades are passed forward. One detonates. The gun stops. Silence follows, heavy and uncertain. Fussell advances slowly, rifle up, breath shallow. The lane is littered with broken equipment and one German body, twisted where he fell. The war here is intimate, quiet, relentless. Night approaches. There is no clear front line, no safe rear. Units dig shallow foxholes, where they stop, uncertain who holds the next field. British naval gunfire is now far behind them. The channel feels impossibly distant. As darkness settles, flares rise suddenly, bathing the hedgerows in harsh white light. German counterattacks begin small, probing, testing for weakness. Fussell fires at shadows, shapes moving between leaves. The night smells of earth, cordite, crushed grass. By midnight, exhaustion blurs everything. Fussell's hands ache, his ears ring. Sleep comes in seconds, broken by fear. Somewhere ahead, German forces regroup. Somewhere behind, more Americans are still landing, still fighting to escape the beach. Normandy has closed its jaws, and inside it, the battle. Normandy has closed its jaws, and inside it, the battle is only tightening. Morning comes without relief. A gray light seeps into the hedgerows, revealing a battlefield that never reset overnight. Paul Fussell wakes stiff and damp, fingers numb around his rifle. The ground is churned to mud by boots and shellfire. Smoke hangs low, caught in the vegetation. Somewhere nearby, wounded man groans until a medic crawls to him. Silent, efficient. Orders arrive piecemeal. Push east, take the next field, then the next. There is no grand maneuver here, only pressure, applied relentlessly. German resistance stiffens as the day wears on. Machine guns fire from hedgerow corners that seem identical to every other corner. Mortars drop with sickening accuracy, guided by observers hidden deep in the green walls. Fussell advances with his group, using a new rhythm learned the hard way. One man watches, one moves, one fires. Progress is measured in yards. Each field must be cleared as if it were a fortress. A single cow lies dead in the grass, bloated, FLIs already thick. War does not stop for anything alive. By midday, they reach another sunken lane. This time, they hesitate. Smoke grenades are thrown first, white clouds blooming and drifting unevenly. Fussell moves through the haze. Senses sharpen. A German soldier bursts from cover at close range. Both fire. The German falls. Fussell keeps moving, heart hammering, aware that stopping means dying. Artillery finally answers. American guns, dragged ashore with immense effort, begin pounding suspected German positions. The earth shakes. Trees splinter. The hedgerows themselves seem to bleed dirt. For the first time since Omaha, Fussell feels the weight of American firepower asserting itself. But even this does not break the terrain's grip. In the afternoon, word spreads, a counterattack is forming. German infantry supported by armor. Tanks are the nightmare here. The hedgerows funnel movement, protect flanks, hide approach. Anti-tank weapons are rushed forward, awkward and heavy. Fussell helps carry ammunition, every step a strain. The first tank appears suddenly, its engine growling like an animal. It fires blindly into the hedgerow, shredding branches, spraying splinters. Infantry follow close behind it, using the steel as cover. Americans scatter, firing bazookas at close range. One rocket misfires. Another slams into the tank's side and ricochets uselessly. The fight collapses into confusion, smoke, shouting, men crawling inches from death. A second bazooka team fires. The rocket punches through thinner armor at the rear. The tank stops, then burns. German infantry retreat, dragging wounded with them. As dusk returns, the field is held but barely. Casualties are counted quietly. Names are written down. Fussell sits against the hedgerow, chest heaving, realizing the invasion did not end on the beach. It merely changed shape. Night approaches again, and with it, the certainty that tomorrow will be the night approaches again, and with it, the certainty that tomorrow will be the same or worse. Darkness settles over the hedgerows like a lid. Paul Fussell digs in where he stands, scraping at the earth with an entrenching tool until his hands blister. There is no proper rest. Sleep comes in fragments, broken by flares, distant gunfire, the sudden snap of a twig that might be nothing or everything. German patrols probe through the night. Short bursts of fire, crackle, then stop. Flares rise, washing the fields in harsh white, freezing men in place. Fussell presses into the dirt, heart racing, waiting for the light to fade. When it does, the dark feels even thicker. The hedgerows are alive with unseen movement. At first light, the attack resumes. Orders are simple. Advance again. Take the next line of fields. American artillery fires preparatory barrages. But the Germans survive by going deep dugouts, tunnels, reverse slopes. When the barrage lifts, they are still there, firing with disciplined control. Fussell moves with his squad along a hedgerow, advancing inch by inch. A hidden machine gun opens suddenly, cutting down the point. Man, the rest hit the ground instantly. Grenades are thrown, dirt and leaves rain down. The gun falls silent, but no one celebrates. There is no time. By mid-morning, casualties thin, the unit. Faces Fussell recognized from England are gone killed. Wounded, vanished into the medevac chain. Replacements arrive late and confused, eyes wide, still carrying the shock of the beach. The war keeps feeding itself. They reach a small Norman farm, stone walls, a shattered roof, livestock scattered or dead. German snipers use the buildings expertly. Clearing it takes hours. Room by room, staircases booby-trapped. A sudden shot in a dark doorway drops a man 2 feet from Fussell. He steps over the body because he has to. When the farm finally falls quiet, Fussell leans against a wall, shaking. His uniform is stiff with sweat and grime. This is not the clean liberation he imagined. This is grinding attrition, hidden behind green walls and stone. Late in the day, word spreads, the beachhead is expanding, but slowly. Every mile costs blood. British forces to the east fight their own battles, just as hard. The scale of the invasion is immense, but here, in this field, it feels terribly small. As evening falls, German artillery returns, hammering the newly taken ground. Shells burst among the farm ruins. Men scatter, diving for cover. Fussell throws himself into a crate. Ears ring, mouth full of dirt. When the barrage lifts, silence follows, ominous, heavy. Fussell knows what it means. Another counterattack is coming, and this time, they are tired, exposed, and far from the beach. Another counterattack is coming, and this time, they are tired, exposed, and far from the beach. The warning comes first as sound boots moving in the hedgerows. Whispered commands in German. The low clank of equipment brushing against metal. Paul Fussell tightens his grip on his rifle, finger resting just outside the trigger guard. Darkness conceals everything except intent. The Germans are close. Very close. The attack breaks suddenly. Rifle fire flashes from multiple directions. Tracers cut low through the grass. Fussell fires toward movement he barely sees, the recoil numbing his shoulder. Men shout for ammunition. Someone screams for a medic, and then goes silent. The hedgerows trap the noise, turning it into a roar that feels inside the skull. Grenades explode in quick succession, showering dirt and stone. A German squad pushes hard, aggressive, disciplined. They know Americans are stretched thin. For a moment, the line bends. Fussell crawls to a fallen man, pulls loose his ammunition bandolier, keeps firing. There is no panic, only speed. Artillery saves them. American guns fire dangerously close, shells ripping into the hedgerows just yards ahead. The ground heaves. The German attack falters, then collapses into withdrawal. Silence follows, broken only by the crackle of small fires, and the wounded calling out. Dawn reveals the cost. Bodies lie tangled in the vegetation, American and German alike. The hedgerows look unchanged, indifferent. Fussell feels older than he did the night before, older than he should be. Orders come again. Push forward, no pause. The momentum cannot be lost. They advance through fields, still smoking from artillery strikes. A wrecked German half-track sits abandoned, its tires shredded, supplies scattered. The enemy is pulling back, but not breaking. By midday, they reach higher ground. For the first time since Omaha, Fussell can see distance rolling Norman countryside, roads snaking through villages, smoke columns rising where battles burn. It is progress, measurable and fragile. British units are reported pushing hard to the east, taking heavy casualties around Cannes. The invasion is not a single battle, is many, all grinding at once. Fussell understands now that Britain's endurance made this possible. 4 years of bombing, rationing, waiting so this foothold could exist. German resistance stiffens again near a crossroads. Mortars bracket the road. A sniper pins them down from a church tower. The tower is shelled until it collapses, stone cascading into dust. No cheers follow, only movement. As evening approaches, the unit halts, ordered to dig in once more. The ground here is harder. Tools strike rock. Sweat stings eyes already raw from smoke and fatigue. Fussell digs anyway. Everyone does. As night falls, the sound of engines drifts faintly from the east. Armor moving. The Germans are not done. They are regrouping. And the men who cross the channel from a battered island are about to face the next phase of the The distant armor silhouettes move slowly at night beyond the hedgerows, and no one doubts what they mean. The sound grows clearer by midnight, engines idling, tracks clanking softly, then stopping. Paul Fussell lies in his shallow foxhole, helmet pulled low, listening. The Germans are careful now. They are feeling for weakness, searching for a seam to rip open. Normandy offers countless places to hide armor until the moment to strike. Just before dawn, the shelling begins. Mortars fall first, then heavier rounds. The ground shakes in uneven pulses. Dirt collapses into foxholes. Men curl inward, protecting faces and hands. Fussell presses his cheek into the soil, teeth clenched, waiting for the barrage to lift. It feels endless. When it finally stops, the silence is worse. German infantry follows the fire, moving fast. Their coordination is tight. This is not desperation, it is calculation. Fussell fires into shadows, advancing through smoke. A flare ignites overhead, turning the field stark white. For a second, everything is exposed. Then darkness slams back down. An armored vehicle pushes forward, its machine gun raking the hedgerow. Bazooka teams scramble into position, crawling through mud with weapons that feel impossibly heavy. Fussell feeds ammunition forward, hands moving automatically. A rocket fires and misses. Another strikes, sparks flying, but the vehicle keeps moving. Artillery answers again, American guns firing nearly point blank to stop the advance. The shockwave lifts Fussell's chest off the ground. The armored vehicle halts, then retreats into smoke. German infantry pulls back with it, disciplined even in withdrawal. Morning reveals shattered ground, trees splintered, craters overlapping, bodies half buried where they fell. The counterattack has failed, but it has cost the Americans dearly. Medics move continuously, faces blank with exhaustion. Fussell helps carry a stretcher until his arms shake. Orders shift by noon. The unit is to push again, exploiting the failed counterattack. There will be no pause. The Germans will dig in farther back, into new hedgerows, new villages. This war moves like grinding gears. They advance through a village reduced to rubble. Civilians are gone or hiding. A white flag hangs from a doorway, fluttering weakly. Fussell steps past it, eyes scanning windows and alleys. Even surrender can be a trap here. Sniper fire cracks from aloft. The building is stormed, cleared brutally fast. Another reminder, there are no safe assumptions, only momentum. As afternoon fades, rain begins to fall, turning dust into paste, blood into dark streaks in the mud. Fussell feels the weight of everything: gear, fatigue, memory. He has not thought of England in days, but Britain's endurance still echoes here. Without it, none of this ground would exist to fight over. By evening, the unit halts again. They have advanced less than a mile since dawn. It feels like an eternity. Fussell digs once more, hands raw, muscles burning. The exhausted soldier digs a foxhole at dusk under heavy clouds, knowing it will not be enough. Rain falls steadily through the night, soaking everything it touches. Paul Fussell shivers in his hole, uniform heavy with water, boots squelching with every shift of weight. Sleep is impossible. The cold creeps into joints and bones. Somewhere beyond the hedgerows, German units reorganize, just as wet, just as tired, and just as dangerous. At first light, the rain lifts, but leaves the ground treacherous. Mud clings to boots and equipment, slowing every movement. Orders come down to push toward a small ridge that overlooks a key road. It is not dramatic terrain, but in Normandy, height is power. Whoever holds it controls movement. The advance is brutal. Mortars fall with unnerving precision, shells plunging into the soft earth before exploding. Men are thrown sideways by the force. Fussell runs bent low, slipping, catching himself, forcing legs to keep moving. A hedgerow ahead erupts as a shell lands directly inside it. When the smoke clears, nothing moves there anymore. German resistance sharpens near the ridge. Machine guns fire from dug-in positions, protected by earth and stone. American artillery pounds the slope, but the defenders cling on. Fussell's group crawls forward, inch by inch, using shell holes as cover. Every second in the open feels like a mistake. A sudden shout incoming, and everyone drops. A shell lands behind them, closer than any before. The blast lifts Fussell off the ground and slams him back down. His ears ring violently. For a moment, the world narrows to soundless pressure and spinning light. When he pushes himself up, blood trickles from his ear, but he can still move. So he does. The ridge is taken late in the afternoon, at terrible cost. The Germans withdraw only after exhausting their ammunition. When it ends, the field is littered with wreckage and bodies, indistinguishable in mud and smoke. There is no triumph, only relief that it is over for now. From the ridge, Fussell sees more of Normandy than ever before. Roads choked with Allied vehicles, columns of smoke marking fresh battles. This is no longer a beachhead. It is a front stretching miles wide, fed continuously by men and machines crossing from Britain's battered shores. But holding ground is harder than taking it. As evening falls, German artillery begins again methodically shelling the ridge. Foxholes collapse. Men dig them out and deepen them under fire. Fussell's hands bleed as he claws at the earth. Night descends with no pause in the shelling. The ridge trembles. Somewhere to the south, larger German formations are reported moving. The invasion has survived its first tests, but it has not broken the enemy. As Fussell curls into his foxhole once more, rain starting again, he understands the truth Britain learned long ago. Endurance, not speed, will decide this war. Endurance is being demanded again, right now. The night grinds on without mercy. Shells fall at irregular intervals, just far enough apart to deny sleep. Paul Fussell stays curled tight in his foxhole, helmet pressed low, counting seconds between explosions without realizing he's doing it. When the firing finally fades toward dawn, it feels less like mercy and more like preparation. Morning reveals the ridge scarred beyond recognition. Foxholes have merged into one another. Trees stand stripped and splintered, branches hanging like broken limbs. Men rise stiffly, checking weapons, checking each other. The unit is thinner now. Names go unanswered. Orders arrive with urgency. The line must push again. A breakthrough is forming farther west, and pressure here must not ease. Fussell shoulders his pack and moves, muscles protesting with every step. The body learns to function past exhaustion, because there is no alternative. They descend the ridge into another patchwork of hedgerows. German resistance is weaker here, scattered, delaying, buying time. Sniper fire still snaps from unseen positions, but it lacks the cohesion of earlier days. The enemy is bending, slowly, reluctantly. Midday brings heat that steams off wet uniforms. The smell of decay hangs heavy. Fussell steps around a dead horse bloated in the road, FLIs rising in clouds. War has stripped the land of any illusion of pastoral calm. Near a crossroads, German troops attempt a last stand. Machine guns chatter from behind a stone wall. American artillery responds swiftly now, coordination improved by hard-earned experience. The wall disintegrates under shell fire. When the smoke clears, the road lies open. For the first time, the advance does not immediately stall. Vehicles move forward cautiously. Engineers clear mines. Fussell watches tanks roll past, their presence reassuring and ominous at once. This is momentum, fragile, expensive, and never guaranteed. By late afternoon, they enter a village largely intact. Doors hang open. Laundry still flutters on a line. The absence of people feels louder than gunfire. Fussell moves past a kitchen table set for a meal that will never be eaten, understanding in a quiet way what liberation looks like before it is celebrated. But the danger has not vanished. A sudden burst of fire from an upper window drops a man ahead of him. The building is taken quickly, brutally. When it is over, silence settles again, broken only by boots on stone. As evening approaches, word filters through the ranks. German forces are withdrawing to stronger positions inland. This is not victory. It is transition. The war is changing shape again. Fussell digs in once more on the edge of the village, watching the sun sink behind shattered rooftops. Britain feels impossibly far away now, yet its shadow is everywhere in the supplies arriving, in the tactics learned, in the simple fact that the beachhead still exists. Night falls, and for the first time since leaving England, the night holds its breath. For men like Paul Fussell, Silence is never peace, it is a question. He lies awake in the shallow earth he has carved for himself, listening to sounds that may or may not exist. A distant engine, a cough, the wind moving through broken beams. Every sense remains alert, trained by weeks of survival. At dawn, the answer comes quietly. No counterattack, no sudden barrage. Instead, scouts return with confirmation. The Germans have pulled back farther than expected. The front has shifted again. Morning light reveals the village as it truly is liberated, but emptied. Civilians emerge slowly, cautiously, eyes filled with disbelief more than joy. Some offer water, some only stare. Fussell meets their gaze and realizes how strange he must look, dirty, hollow-eyed, carrying a weapon that defines him more than his name. The unit moves out before celebrations can begin. War does not pause for gratitude. Orders push them onward, deeper into France, toward battles not yet named. Trucks rumble forward, columns form, the machine of advance resumes. Days blur together, resistance stiffens, then collapses. Towns fall, roads open, maps redraw themselves with red pencil lines. Fussell survives not through heroism, but through attention, watching where he steps, listening when others stop, staying alive by inches. Then comes the moment no one announces. A shell lands too close. The blast throws him hard into the dirt. For a second, there is nothing, no sound, no pain, no thought. When awareness returns, it arrives with ringing ears and the taste of blood. Medics appear, efficient, practiced. He is alive. Others nearby are not. As he is carried away, Fussell sees the war from a new angle, looking back instead of forward. Stretchers line the road. Wounded men wait in silence. The advance continues without them. Later, far from the front, recovery gives him time. Time to remember, time to question, time to realize that survival itself carries weight. The war is not finished, but something inside him has changed permanently. Years after the guns fall silent, Fussell will write, not about glory, not about strategy, but about fear, irony, and the lies nations tell young men. His words will shape how future generations understand war, not as adventure, but as endurance. The beachhead holds. France is freed step by step. Germany will fall, but the cost remains carried in bodies, in memories, in sentences written long after the smoke clears.